I did this poll on my community tab, and the majority of you said that you have your manuscript, your first draft down, but you don't know what to do next. So today I thought, why not share what I plan to do, what is my process once I have the first draft down. And just a heads up, I will be mentioning a lot of resources like the PDF of my process, an editing checklist, and a lot of other resources. And to make it easy for you, I'll have all of them linked in the description of this video. Honestly, the first thing I like to do is take a break and celebrate. Finishing the first draft of a novel is a big deal. There are so many people who say they want to write a book. They even have brilliant story ideas, brilliant concepts, but they never get around to writing it. There's always an excuse, not enough time, no motivation, but you have overcome all that and you've sat down day after day for weeks and months and probably even years and have finished the first draft. That is a big deal. Celebrate it. Also, taking a break from that particular book, that particular writing project is going to give you some space to allow you to think about your work. A little distance from your work is going to help you look at your work more critically. And that brings me to the next point. For me, the first draft is uncovering the story for myself. Like everybody says, the first draft is just you telling the story to yourself. Accepting that my first drafts are going to be bad took me a few years to wrap my head around this fact. And before that, I thought I was just a bad writer. But knowing that most writers have that first draft is a comfort for me. I know that no matter how good a writer you think you are, your first draft is going to need a few rounds of revisions and rewrites. And that's a mistake most first-time authors make, including me. Let's talk about the next steps. Now, no matter whether you're planning to go the traditional publishing route or self-publishing, taking your manuscript through a few rounds of revision is going to make your book stronger. So keeping that in mind, create a revision plan. I like to do this digitally in my Notion dashboard. I have all my writing projects in here in my Notion. Even if I'm working with a different app, say for writing or plotting, I have the links to those files in my Notion dashboard so I can access everything regarding a particular writing project through my Notion dashboard. Now, I know not everyone is a Notion person, and before using Notion, I did this in Google Drive. And I'll have the links to both these systems in the description of this video in case you want to check it out. But what does a revision plan really look like? It's very difficult to generalize because there are so many things to consider, but let me use my revision plan and I'll walk you through my thought process behind it. So for my current writing project, I've broken this phase into two. First, I'm going to look at the structural and the developmental changes, and that is what I consider as true revision. And once I'm done with the big changes, I then move on to the scene level changes and page level changes, and that is what I consider as self-edits. So here's how I create my plan. First, read through my outline, which is in Plottr, and make changes to it so that can guide me with the structural and developmental changes. Based on that, I then read my manuscript in Microsoft Word and use the track feature to make comments. Pro tip, use the read aloud feature because you can catch so much more when you're listening to your manuscript. Once I have these notes, I transfer them in my Notion and put each of these comments under broad changes, under Act 1, 2, 3. Then I organize these notes in the sequence in which I'll tackle them. Once I have that organized, I get working on these changes. Depending on how clean the first draft is and the total word count, it will take me a few weeks to a few months to work on the structural and developmental changes. After that, I'll take a break, reread my manuscript, and if I feel I've tackled the structural and developmental stuff, then I move on to self-edit phase and do the same thing as I did before. But this time I'll zoom in a little and take notes on scene level changes and page level changes. That is fixing the prose, polishing the scenes. I use an editing checklist. It's on my website. It's free. I'll have the link to it in the description for you. Once you have a polished manuscript, you can then start looking at the publishing side of things depending on what you've decided to go, whether traditional publishing or self-publishing. For traditional publishing, you might consider looking for literary agents, querying with them, creating your query package, even consider hiring a professional editor to get some feedback. Honestly, I don't know what goes into traditional publishing because I have only ever self-published. But if you're considering self-publishing, I would recommend start with researching your market. For that, we need to know the genre very well and how books in that genre are marketed. The more information we have, the better, because we can then dial in our publishing and our marketing strategy to give our books the best chance. I have a free PDF with the step-by-step process that I took for my last book, and I'll have the link for you in the description of this video. And if you need a more one-on-one, you can pick my brain. I have the details of it on my website, and I'll have that link for you as well. I hope this was helpful. I'll get back to my revisions, and I'll see you in the next one.